Nadal ceremony. I think that was the headline and the highlight of this day one at Roland Garros. Like, it was after the day session on Phillipe Chatrier, that caught there, and then of course followed by Shelton and Sonego after that match. Nadal's kind of had his, I guess, his send-off officially was at Davis Cup, and he had a ceremony there. It was heavily criticised by a lot of people, that ceremony at the time. It was, including the people very close to Nadal, Carlos Moya and Tony Nadal. They both said that it was, I think they used the word stingy. It was not fitting for a champion like Rafa Nadal. And I think one of the only places where really that a ceremony could possibly be, the only place that a ceremony could be any more fitting is Roland Garros. Like, this is where he's dominated the tournament, and he's had a few other send-offs in Madrid and in other places, along with Malaga for the Davis Cup, and you just felt, he'd never really got the significant kind of send-off that someone of Rafa Nadal's caliber, and how much of a monumental impact he's had on this sport. And he's widely recognised by even people that aren't tennis fans as dominating Roland Garros and being the king of clay. Like, he deserved a send-off here at Roland Garros. Obviously last year he lost to Alexander Zverev. He got an awful draw there, and he never got that send-off because he actually hinted at, before he stepped onto court, that might not be his last ever time playing at Roland Garros. And look, it ended up being his final ever Roland Garros, and for him to come back here, I think overall, Carl, I think this ceremony struck all the right notes. I think it was very fitting for someone, as I said, of his caliber.
Yeah, his standard, you more like to say. I think there was a lovely, incredibly huge crowd as well there on Phillipe Chatrier. The court that, he's won 14 titles of the best clay tournament in the entire world on. He did go to Spain after the Davis Cup for a special farewell 6 months after that Davis Cup. But this is really where it all happened, because all his friends were there, his whole family was there, his rivals were there, and longtime friends as well, and a lot of Spanish people who really respected him and loved the guy. And so could not wait to see Rafa all suited up, getting on stage, and just talking for what was about 50 minutes of the ceremony, and just saying thank you and really being appreciated for all the love that he's had in the sport, which was so great to see.
Yeah, I thought that was, slightly awkward, like him standing in the middle of the court for a massive speech for half an hour. I thought, perhaps he just saying thank you to pretty much every single person, and sharing some of his memories there. You spoke about his first ever time going to Roland Garros in 2004 on crutches just to watch the tennis, and that's something that Christopher Clarey's new book, The Warrior, goes into as well, with him just fighting there, trying to get onto the match court. And I thought, despite that part, it was obviously very fitting. Like, he clearly wanted to be there and speaking for, he clearly wanted to speak, at that length, and I think that's what he wanted. Like, he would have asked the tournament, and he would have asked Amelie Morosa and the tournament directors that's what he wanted. And look, if that's what he wanted, then that's the main thing that matters here. Like, he's the one that's won the 14 Grand Slams, and I thought, apart from that, I thought it was brilliant. There was a slightly odd dance before, obviously, the rest of the big four stepped onto court, Novak, Andy and Roger, and the whole crowd, Carl, they were wearing these free Mercy Rafa t-shirts in the colour of the clay court, and it made for a good scene, some good photos and a good atmosphere on there. And there were a few moments in this ceremony that were truly exceptional, they really hit the nail on the head of these moments, that they physically sent a shiver down my spine. Like, the first one would be Nadal when he first stepped out onto court, on Phillipe Chatrier, the iconic MC that's been there for so many years, Marc Murray. He announced his arrival onto court, listing every single year that Nadal had won the event, and every single year he went up at the excitement, the drama added to his voice, and the excitement from the crowd geared up at another level. And then Nadal was straight onto court to some fitting music. It just felt, that's like a legend. You just walked onto the court and the crowd acknowledging that. And then the second one would be just before Novak, Roger and Andy were announced that they were going to be there. I don't think many people on the crowd actually knew that they were going to be there. There was there was that video on the big screen of Novak, Roger, and Andy kind of saying thanks to Rafa before, it's kind of a bit like Murray's farewell in Wimbledon, where he had, Venus Williams was there as well, but he had Djokovic and Nadal and Federer all, talking on his farewell video. And then suddenly, you had Andy saying something, and then it skipped to Novak, and then it skipped to Roger, and then suddenly when Roger Federer was about to continue saying something, suddenly it glitched out, and perhaps you would have thought that was a technical error from Roland Garros, but no, it switched to the rest of that big four, the Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, and Andy Murray waiting together, standing in the hallways, waiting to go on court. Like, that was perfectly done by the tournament. That was spine chilling, Carl. It was really an exceptional moment from this ceremony. I thought it was brilliant from Roland Garros to get the big four reunited on court.
Yeah, it's crazy how they've done that. With all that's happened, even between Djokovic and Murray, you wouldn't have expected to see them two together for a little while. After they've just split up. But
Yeah, that was interesting, actually. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But the way that they would just came in, they're all friends, they're all mates. They've played together for a long time, against each other for a long time, with each other for a long time. So there's no disputing that. I did think that they were probably going to be there, but I didn't know that they were just gonna rock off. And the way they did it was also really great as well. And I think the final thing for me was, which gave me chills, I think, was at the very end, where he started to speak in a little bit of in Spanish, French, and English, and he couldn't hold back the tears. He had to like kind of sniffle through that last message, and thanking Uncle Tony, I remember, who obviously taught him tennis like from a very, very young age of like three or something, and obviously got him loads of his titles after moving to Juan Carlos Ferreira and Sir Carlos Moya. And then that cameo of Federer, Djokovic, and Murray. Um, he was then provided with that silver plaque at the very end with a Nadal footprint. I think that was the best thing ever for him, and it was such a fitting way to end it. And I think he even said something. He even said he doesn't get like these type of moments so often, and yeah, he doesn't really like it. But being the center of attention, he's just like a great guy like that. But today, I think he definitely enjoyed that moment. Him, being the center of attention on a Phillipe Chatrier, his probably his best court in his entire life. And yeah, I think it's hard for him not to cry there, because now it's really over. At the same time, you're really happy that he's paid tribute to. But yeah, Nadal is really gone now. But no, definitely the good side still being that it was so great to see him, and everyone there for with the Mercy Rafa shirts, and yeah, it was a great sight to behold, Nick.
Yeah, and that plaque, like you said, on the court on Phillipe Chatrier, that's going to be there forever to remember this game changer in our sport on clay and in Roland Garros. Like, I think even the crowd in Paris during his 14 title runs were getting a bit bored of the dominance. Like, no one could beat him. Only a select 3 players have ever beaten him there: Alexander Zverev, Novak Djokovic, and Robin Soderling. And that plaque on court is truly deserved, like of someone like this to go to on Phillipe Chatrier with his shoe marks labelled and embedded on the plaque, and the trophy there as well with 14 below it. Like, they're probably never going to have to change that plaque, because I don't think anyone else is going to win Roland Garros 14 times. Like you said, there was lots of people in the crowd as well. You had Alcaraz there, you had Iga Swiatek, you had some retired players as well. I saw Joe Wilfried Tsonga there, Lucas Pouillet, Juan Carlos Ferrero. Like, there was some big people in the crowd, and it was truly fitting. And like you said, with that, it was quite a big deal, I think. For last year he spoke about how he didn't want something that big. He didn't want something that monumental, and
Yeah.
he just wanted a small send off. And he even asked, maybe don't even do one this last year. And clearly this time he spoke he spoke in his press conference about how this was what he wanted, and he felt like this was fitting for him, and it was what clearly he wanted. And that with I thought slightly when Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, and Andy Murray walked onto the court, I just thought that was so brilliant, having them all back, and suddenly there was a great atmosphere on court with Nadal, and Nadal was both crying and laughing and sharing brilliant moments, and yeah, that moment with Andy Murray and Novak Djokovic was quite intriguing actually. When they
Yeah.
were in that hallway waiting to go on court, you could clearly see Novak Djokovic was on the side of Roger Federer and speaking to Federer, and Murray was kind of on his left, and they weren't exactly talking, and they spoke in their announcements or their statements after they broke up about how Djokovic said, "I really thank this opportunity for deepening our friendship together." And
But then why are you not talking
you
to
could
him?
clearly see that friendship was deepened in that photo. But yeah, I thought it was this Nadal ceremony, having them all back there, and yeah, I thought it
Yeah.
was just truly fitting for someone like him. Have you got anything else to add to this ceremony, Carl?
No, really, honestly, I think it's just gotta say thank you to Rafa. He's provided us with such incredible moments in the sport, and yeah, honestly, he'll never be forgotten. He's been my idol from a very young age. I went to his academy to see him play, talk to Uncle Tony, talk to all these guys related to Rafa. Seen the books, seen everything to do with the guy, and yeah, it's really incredible to just see how what he's done with his career and all his achievements and everything. So yeah, you can't take away how great he's done and what an amazing person he is. So yeah, thank you, Rafa, again. We want to get that Mercy Rafa t-shirt and be there right now. But yeah, I think saying it here is just as good, definitely.
Yeah, that was a great touch from the tournament. I
Yeah.
think giving them out for free. Yeah, brilliant scenes on Roland Garros. I think it added to the atmosphere and the excitement